What if I told you that your current financial reality, every single shadow of debt, every stagnant bank account, and every moment of anxiety about the future is nothing more than the direct result of your diet? I am not referring to the food you put on your plate, but to something infinitely more potent that dictates the trajectory of your entire life. We are obsessed with what we feed our bodies, yet we let our minds feast on the junk food of fear, doubt, and the 24-hour news cycle of economic doom. What would happen if, for just 7 days, you stopped feeding your consciousness this poison and deliberately fed it only the food of the gods? Welcome to the alchemy of consciousness. Today, we are not discussing vague hopes or wishing for money. We are establishing a strict regime for freedom. We are about to embark on the 7-day mental diet as taught by the greatest mystic of the 20th century, Neville Goddard. This is a process designed to radically reprogram your identity and, consequently, your external world, shifting you from the grind of survival to the wealth that is your divine right. This is not about working harder. It is about changing the blueprint of who you are. For how many years have you lived in a state of spiritual starvation? You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, your first thought is directed toward what is missing. You check your banking app with a knot in your stomach, hoping for a miracle but expecting a deficit. You might recite positive affirmations in the mirror, but your voice trembles because deep down you feel like a fraud. You hear about the law of assumption, but it feels like an exclusive club where you haven't been granted membership. This frustration, this feeling of being trapped behind invisible glass while watching others achieve financial independence, is the clearest symptom of a poisoned mental diet. You are feeding your mind the evidence of your senses, the bills on the counter, the number in the bank, rather than the truth of your imagination. The deeper issue is that this diet of scarcity has become your identity. You don't just have money problems, you believe you are a person who struggles with money. You have accepted the struggle as your natural state. Every unexpected bill, every car repair, every price hike at the grocery store only serves to confirm this terrible identity. You have fed your subconscious with images of the rat race for so long that it now faithfully reproduces that struggle in your 3D world. You have prayed for wealth, but you have continued to hold inner conversations about poverty. You have asked for abundance, but you have dined every night with thoughts of, "I can't afford this," or "I'll never get ahead." It is a hypnotic cycle that must be broken, not by force or hard labor, but by discipline. Here lies the secret that Neville Goddard revealed with crystal clarity. Your subconscious is impersonal. It does not judge what you give it. Just like your stomach, it accepts the food you offer and transforms it into energy. If you offer it mental junk food, complaints about the economy, criticism of the rich, self-pity, or fear of the future, it will digest that and produce the corresponding physical circumstances: more debt, more scarcity, more fear. You are not being punished for your thoughts. You are being punished by your thoughts. Your external reality is nothing more than the nutritional value of your dominant inner dialogue. Neville was not a philosopher of toxic positivity. He didn't ask you to ignore reality or pretend the bills aren't there. He asked you to refuse to accept them as final. The mental diet does not consist of delusion. It consists of refusing to give the problems your mental power or attention. It is an act of divine vigilance. Neville taught that man is pure imagination, and his imagination is God. Therefore, what man imagines and feels as true becomes his reality. Your diet is not what you think occasionally when you are trying to be spiritual. Your diet is your dominant mood, your habitual inner conversation while you are driving to work or showering. So, what does this 7-day diet consist of? It is simple to describe, but it requires the discipline of an alchemist who is ready to turn lead into gold. For 7 consecutive days, you will not allow your mind to entertain a single thought, image, or inner conversation that is not aligned with the wealthy, free person you wish to be. This is not about monitoring every single wandering thought. That would be impossible. It is about monitoring your reaction to your thoughts. It is about deliberately starving the old I am poor identity and feeding the new I am wealthy identity. Think about this. If a doctor told you that you were severely poisoned and had to avoid certain foods for 7 days to save your life, you would do it. You would show ironclad discipline because your survival depended on it. Yet, your financial and spiritual life is intoxicated by years of mental junk food, and you wonder why you feel stuck. This 7-day diet is your divine prescription. It is a period of purification. You are not trying to attract wealth from the outside. You are eliminating the mental blocks that have prevented you from perceiving and receiving the abundance that is already here. Wealth is the natural state of being. Scarcity is the aberration created by an unbalanced mental diet. This is not an intellectual exercise to be debated in philosophy class. This is a practical program that we will initiate right now. In the next few minutes, we will outline the structure of this transformation. Day 1, the observation. Day 2, the substitution. Day 3, the nutrition of gratitude. Day 4, starving the shadows. Day 5, the feast of feeling. Day 6, the Sabbath rest. Day 7, the new identity. 7 days to die to the old concept of yourself, the one who is overworked and underpaid, and be reborn into abundance. Are you ready to radically change your mental diet? Do not take this commitment lightly. If you fail, if you allow your mind to slip back into its old regime of complaining about the economy or politics after just a few hours, you simply start over from zero. But if you persevere for 7 full days, 168 hours, Neville promised that your life would be so radically transformed that your past struggles would seem like a distant dream. You are choosing between being an automaton, reacting passively to the junk food offered by the news and your bank balance, or being the sovereign alchemist who deliberately chooses what to consume internally to create externally. To fully understand the transformative power of this discipline, we must first observe an intoxicated mind. Let's look at the story of Mark. Mark was not different from many of you listening. He was a good man, a hard worker, but he was haunted by the mentality of almost. He earned almost enough to be comfortable. He was almost happy. His life was a constant state of not yet. Mark was, without knowing it, a chronic consumer of mental junk food, and his reality was a faithful reflection of that diet. Every morning, Mark woke up at 6 a.m. The first sound he heard was not his alarm, but his own inner conversation. Another Monday. I have to remember to pay that credit card bill. I hope the boss isn't in a bad mood. I can't afford to fix the car if it breaks down this month. He would get up, go to the kitchen, and while the coffee was brewing, he would open his banking app. The number he saw on the screen, a number that always seemed to shrink, never grow, was his morning junk food. It was a shot of anxiety that set the tone for the entire day. This was his mental breakfast. Throughout the day, Mark was a professional on the outside, but internally, he was a beggar. When a colleague talked about their new promotion or a vacation, Mark would smile and congratulate them, but his inner dialogue was toxic. Sure, it's easy for them. They have connections. I'll never catch a break. When he paid for lunch, even if he could afford it, he felt a pang of pain, as if he were losing something irreplaceable. Every financial transaction was tainted by fear. In the evening, he watched Netflix to unwind, but he wasn't really watching. His mind was engaged in intense imaginary arguments, fighting with creditors, justifying to his family why they couldn't take a vacation this year, calculating and recalculating figures that never added up. Mark had become accustomed to this flavor. The bitter taste of scarcity was so familiar to him that he confused it with reality. He didn't understand that his external world was simply the mirror faithfully reflecting his inner diet. Mark's morning anxiety, fed day after day, impressed his subconscious with the expectation of lack. And the subconscious, like a faithful servant who does not judge, obeyed. It orchestrated events, delays, and unexpected expenses to ensure that Mark's external reality matched his internal conviction. Mark was starving at a banquet, feeding only on the crumbs of doubt that fell from the table of his senses. One day, Mark stumbled upon a single sentence by Neville Goddard. Man lives on a mental diet. If you feed your mind with thoughts of scarcity and fear, they will produce bitter fruits in your world. That phrase hit him like lightning. For the first time, he realized he wasn't a victim of the economy or the system. He was the chef. He had been the one and only the one preparing and consuming the poisonous meals that had created his life. He decided, in that moment, to radically change his nutrition. He decided to undertake the 7-day mental diet, not with hope, but with the desperate determination of a man choosing life over survival. Day 1 was called relentless observation. For 24 hours, Mark didn't try to change anything. His only task was to observe, like a silent witness, every single thought and inner conversation related to money. He carried a small notebook. The results were terrifying. By 10 a.m., he had already recorded 47 negative thoughts about scarcity. I can't afford that. That's for rich people, not me. Saving is impossible in this economy. I'm just unlucky. He realized that his mind was a nearly uninterrupted stream of financial negativity. He was an automaton programmed to fail. But day 1 showed him the disease. Now he was ready for the cure. Day 2 was named the Divine Substitution. The rule was simple. Whenever he caught himself feeding a thought of scarcity, the junk food of the mind, he had to stop immediately. He was not to fight it, because fighting a thought gives it energy. He simply had to turn the dial, as Neville said. He had to replace the thought. If his mind whispered, "I can't pay this bill," he had to stop, close his eyes for a second, and inwardly declare, "I am abundance. Everything is paid." At first, it was exhausting. His mind, addicted to its toxic diet, rebelled. The thoughts of scarcity returned every few minutes, like a spoiled child demanding sugar. But Mark was relentless. If he caught himself mentally complaining about the price of gas, he stopped and said, "I am the source of all my supply. My wealth flows freely." If he saw someone with a luxury car and felt a pang of envy, he stopped and declared, "What I imagine for others, I activate for myself. I celebrate abundance everywhere." He wasn't lying to himself. He was stating a deeper truth. He was shifting his identity from Mark who struggles to the I am that is the source of everything. Neville taught that I am are the two most powerful words in the universe. It is the name of God. Whatever you affirm after I am, your consciousness commits to realizing. Mark stopped saying, "I am broke," or "I am worried," and began with fierce discipline to feed himself only, "I am abundant," "I am prosperous," "I am secure." Day 3 was the nutrition of anticipatory gratitude. This was the turning point. Mark understood, thanks to Neville, that gratitude is not a reaction to what you receive. It is the cause of what you receive. It is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That morning, instead of checking his bank app to see what he lacked, Mark sat in silence for 5 minutes and fed on the feeling of gratitude for his wealth, a wealth his senses still denied. He felt the relief of having all accounts paid. He felt the joy of being generous. He felt the peace of knowing it is done. This anticipatory nourishment became his main meal. Whenever his old diet of anxiety knocked on the door, he thanked it for reminding him to sit down and feast on the feeling of gratitude. He was learning to live in the end, as Neville taught. He was no longer praying for wealth. He was giving thanks from wealth. He was changing his vibrational stance, moving from hunger to fullness. And the world, which is only a mirror, has no choice but to reflect the state of consciousness that man habitually occupies. Day 4 was the hardest. It was starving the shadows. His 3D reality, created by his old diet, hadn't changed yet. In fact, that day he received a late payment notice. The old Mark would have spiraled into panic. He would have consumed that letter as definitive proof of his bad luck. But the new Mark, the Alchemist, looked at it and said, "You are just a shadow of the past. You are the result of my old diet. I will not feed you with my fear." He took the letter, put it aside, and immediately went to sit for 10 minutes, feeding on the feeling of relief for having paid that debt and all others. This is where 99% of people fail the diet. They confuse the shadow with the substance. They confuse the effect with the cause. Neville was clear. When you start a mental diet, your external world will take a brief moment to catch up. In that lag time, the shadows of your old consciousness, debts, problems, fears, will dance desperately for your attention, begging you to return to feeding them. Your only task on day 4 is to starve them. Refuse to give them your emotional energy. Recognize them for what they are: empty shells, dead manifestations of your old identity, and return to feeding your new conception. Day 5 was the Feast of Feeling. By now, Mark felt lighter. Having stopped poisoning himself with fear, his mind was clearer. On this day, he focused on deepening the feeling. He didn't just think, "I am rich." He immersed himself in how it feels to be so. During his lunch break, instead of doom-scrolling through anxious news on his phone, he closed his eyes and imagined a scene that implied his wish was fulfilled. He imagined himself transferring a large sum of money into his savings account, feeling a sense of pride and security. He felt the warmth of the sun on his skin during a vacation he could now afford. He wasn't daydreaming. He was performing the imaginal act. He was preparing a gourmet meal for his subconscious. Neville taught that the subconscious is impressed only by feeling. A thought without feeling is a cold dish, incapable of nourishing. But a thought wrapped in intense feeling is a banquet that the subconscious devours and transforms into physical reality. Mark, in day 5, stopped being a starving thinker and became a satisfied feeler. He was saturating his mind with the sensation of abundance. Day 6 was the Sabbath rest. This is Neville's most misunderstood yet powerful concept. After 5 days of disciplined vigilance, substitution, and emotional feeding, Mark felt calm. The hunger for the desire was gone. The anxiety had evaporated. In their place was a quiet certainty. He no longer hoped wealth would come. He knew it was already there, in his consciousness, waiting to manifest. This, Neville taught, is the Sabbath. It is not a day of the week. It is a state of mind where you rest because you know the creative act is finished. When you enter the Sabbath, you stop striving. You stop doing the techniques to get something, and you simply are. You continue your mental diet not to become wealthy, but because you are a wealthy person. And wealthy people do not consume the mental garbage of poverty. Mark, on day 6, continued to reject thoughts of scarcity. But now it was effortless. The junk food had lost its appeal. He had reached faith, which is the loyalty to the unseen reality. Day 7 was the new identity. Mark woke up that morning, and something was irrevocably different. It wasn't a change in his bank account. Not yet. It was a change in his being. He looked in the mirror and didn't see struggling Mark anymore. He saw a man who was calm, secure, and prosperous. The morning anxiety was gone, replaced by a quiet expectation of good. The divine mechanics behind this are exquisitely simple. Your external world is a delayed mirror of your dominant consciousness. When you change your mental diet, the mirror must, by law, reflect your new face. What happened to Mark? In the weeks following his 7th day, the external world began to conform. It wasn't magic. It was a bridge of incidents. A client who hadn't called in months offered a massive contract. An idea for a side hustle he'd been sitting on for years suddenly became clear, and he launched it with confidence, generating a new stream of income within days. Mark wasn't surprised. He simply said thank you, because he had already feasted on that reality in his imagination. He had hacked the system. He understood that imagination is the cause and the 3D world is just the effect. The 7 days are just the detox. The real mastery is making this a lifestyle. You must become a guardian at the gate of your mind. The most important meal of this diet is the one you consume before sleep. Neville called this SATs, state akin to sleep. In this drowsy state, your subconscious is wide open. Most people take the day's trash, worries, failures, news to bed with them, planting seeds of poverty for the next day. The alchemist, however, prepares a feast. He lies down and imagines a scene that implies his financial freedom is already a fact. He falls asleep in that feeling. You are the operant power. You are not a victim of the economy, the job market, or your upbringing. You are the architect of your reality. Wealth is not a number. It is a state of consciousness. It is a flavor you choose to taste. Stop begging at the doors of the 3D world and start feasting in the kingdom of imagination. 7 days is all it takes to break the spell of the rat race. If you are ready to stop being a passive consumer of the American nightmare and start living your own dream, start your 7-day diet today. Do not look back. The past is dead food. If this message has fed your soul, subscribe to the Feeling is the Secret Neville Goddard channel. By joining us, you are declaring that you are no longer a victim, but a creator. Go to the comments right now and declare your freedom. Write, I am the sovereign of my mind. Set this intention. You are the alchemist. You are the cause. And from this day forward, your diet and your world will be nothing but wealth.